Soon, a jury will decide if 3 Norfolk officers falsified police reports. All 3 are now off the force. Today, the defense rested. The case stems back to 2020. A Norfolk man claims the officers retaliated against him. 10 on your side's Brett Hall continues our coverage with more on today's testimony from federal court.
Closing arguments are expected to happen Monday morning, and after the jury heard 4 days of testimony and facts, they'll have the case in their hands to deliberate. Not sure how long it'll take them to come to a verdict. However, the case still boils down to this. Did 3 former Norfolk police officers falsify a car accident report in order to get back at one of the victims of that accident who earlier was arrested for trespassing earlier in that same year? The crash that this whole case centers around happened on September 30th, 2020 on the bridge that takes Shore Drive over East Little Creek in Norfolk. Now 40-year-old Brandon Williams says the accident report stated the driver who hit him and then fell off the bridge was going 35 miles an hour. We saw a copy of that report. That's what it said. However, witnesses say that driver was going at least 75 miles an hour. And then the driver himself, which we saw on body camera as well as the jury, said he was going 40. Now, another point of contention with that report. Norfolk Police said the driver had no signs of using drugs or alcohol. At the hospital, that same driver had registered 3 times the legal limit. Now, it's worth noting, the other driver was charged in the crash on the scene by one of the 3 officers in this case. Williams eventually settled with that driver for millions of dollars in damages in a separate civil suit. However, today on the stand, the officer who wrote the report did say that 35 miles an hour was an error on his part. Now, Williams' team has been pointing to a comment made by one of the 3 officers that he has sued on the scene that day. The officer, once they realize who Williams was and remembers that another officer dealt with him, giving him a trespassing ticket earlier that year, that officer says, isn't that the guy that gave the officer a ration of, we'll use the word grief because we can't use the actual word on the air. The defense says, no, that doesn't prove that the officers would work to falsify the police report. Williams is seeking $4.6 million in damages, saying that the use of his First Amendment and Sixth Amendment rights were violated. We're outside of the federal courthouse in downtown Norfolk. Brett Hall, 10 on your side.